Hello there everybody, welcome back to another Binding of Isaac video. Today we take a look at another Binding of Isaac Repentance update. Over the course of the past week, as many of you know, Repentance was at PAX, which means that we finally have some more gameplay of everything going on in Repentance. So what you're looking at right now is the first official Twitch streamed gameplay of the Binding of Isaac Repentance. This is the game that is going to be available to everybody when Repentance comes out. This is the demo build of the game. This is not me playing it. This is content that I took from Tyrone Rodriguez, who works for Nicholas in the production of Repentance right now. He live streamed Repentance twice over the course of this past week. Basically, both of the streams were around 35 minutes long. I then went in and kind of chopped down that footage to get enough here that makes sense. So we're just going to hop in. He's choosing his character. You can see, and I implore you to go back and take a look, but the two main Repentance characters, Bethany and Jacob and Esau, were not on the screen. So immediately we know those two characters are going to have to be unlocked somehow in Repentance. And that's something that was talked about a little bit on the stream that they were doing, is that there are going to be a lot of achievements, a lot of unlocks in the game. They said that this will be the biggest DLC yet, and that in a lot of ways it could have just been a sequel to Isaac with the amount of stuff that is inside of the game. So a couple of things that you've seen as you're looking around. Colors are a little bit more vibrant in the Burning Basement. They kind of redid how things worked here. You just saw Isaac pick up the Intruder, which is a new item in Repentance that appears to give occasional quad shot. So kind of a mutant spider without the tears down of mutant spider. You kind of just have every once in a while shots are kind of fired out. You also see Bar of Soap here, which is a tears up and shot speed up, just another good boss item. Here you see Consolation Prize, which gave a +1 to the lowest stat and then dropped a consumable that you needed. And then finally here you also have a Devil Deal that gives you Sulfur. Sulfur is a 3-charge active item that is going to allow you to have Brimstone for the room that you pop it in. So some other just quality of life changes that you can see here. You saw that hearts were going to blink upon them being in the room. Kind of just a basic visual change. I don't think there's anything too exciting about that. The HUD on the far right is way smaller than it is in Afterbirth Plus, and this is actually going to be an option to make it smaller. It's not going to be smaller by default, I don't believe. In fact, I mean, it's not even probably not even going to be on by default. But later on, Tyrone did show the settings when they went to turn the found HUD on, which tells all the stats. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit later here. But when he was in that menu, you saw that the HUD on the right side is in fact, it had an option for minimized or smaller. So you can see there that it's definitely, you got the option for it to be smaller. And I like it. I mean, it takes up a little bit less space on the screen, which I think is beneficial. So right now, you're in the alternate floor of Downpour. Those of you that played Anti-Birth, the mod that Repentance is based off of, you would know all about Downpour. This is an alternate floor to it, Dross, that is going to have its own boss in it. Now here we just see Little Bub as the boss, and you can kind of see how his attack patterns go. A lot of unique stuff. You saw the wind affecting the coins in the one room. You see the temporary brimstone laser in this room now. That is Sulfur doing that. And you can see the heart blinking again as well. So then here's another item, Booster Pack, which is just going to give a bunch of cards upon picking it up. You're going to see a lot of the same items over and over the course of this video because we are on the demo build of the game. This is what was available for people to play at PAX, and I'm assuming that they messed with the loot pool a little bit just to ensure that some items remained a secret while some were seen a little bit more often. You know, ones that had already been kind of revealed, stuff like that, were a little bit more likely to show up on these runs. So Consolation Prize was actually gotten like 5 times on the streams that he was doing. So Krampus had a couple of new animations in there. He'd had a little bounce that he was doing, and here we can see him breaking into the mines. This is the second floor of second floor of Anti-Birth, but will be the second alternate floor path of Repentance. And there is an alternate floor for the mines as well, which was not seen on stream, but that is Ash Pit. It kind of was a quick, temporary walk in, and then Tyrone walked directly out. So this is the mines. It's pretty much a mine. I mean, those that know Anti-Birth, I highly recommend you go and you check out Anti-Birth, because this is going to make way more sense for you if you go and you watch Anti-Birth instead, because you're going to learn a lot of what will be coming to the game, since Repentance is based off of Anti-Birth. So I'm going to kind of let this roll in the background for a little bit. I want to touch real quick on something that a lot of people have been asking me personally from my first Repentance kind of news video. What about consoles? What is going to happen with consoles with Repentance? So this was talked about a little bit on the stream. It is borderline guaranteed that Repentance will end up on the Nintendo Switch. The only issue is there are a lot of graphics in Repentance that aren't actually going to be doable on the Switch, because the Switch's hardware is actually not very strong. They said that porting Repentance to iOS, your phone, would actually be easier to do than porting it to the Switch. So there are going to be a lot of scenarios where graphics are going to have to be a bit changed in order for Repentance to run properly on the Switch. So you may not have some of these really great visual effects when Repentance gets revealed on the Switch, but it should at least make it there, which is a benefit. They didn't talk much about PS4 and Xbox. They kind of just mentioned that doing these kinds of DLCs to those two consoles are incredibly difficult, and they did say that the game may or may not be available for Mac OS either. Their main concern right now is Windows PCs and the Switch, and that's kind of where they're working with it. The Switch will not release, Repentance will not release on the Switch on the same day that PC is released. PC will definitely come before it. But the fact that it's even going to come to Switch, I think, is a blessing to a lot of people, because I think that the future of the game kind of relies on it being on the Switch. So another question before you ask me, you can see at the top of the screen that little timer, and you can see that we are now playing as the Lost in this video. I say we lightly once again, not me playing. But basically this was a PAX thing, just to limit people from being at the screen playing Repentance all day long. Whenever you passed a certain time limit, you would turn into the Lost, just to kind of help you die a little bit faster so that other people could play the game. They are debating now adding this as a kind of miniature, Easter egg seed to the game, more or less, so that you can kind of play with this, become the Lost after a certain time frame, do a speed run kind of thing. I think it's an interesting seed that probably would not take them much time to code anyway, because they already kind of did it for the PAX demo. So kind of interesting, but it is not a feature that is going to be prevalent on a normal run in Repentance, so don't worry too much about that. If this is something that is frightening you, that you're going to, turn into the Lost magically in the middle of your run, not something at all to be concerned about. Another thing that was touched on was how mods are going to work in Repentance. And this is something that I have had a lot of concerns about, and I also assume a lot of other people have had concerns about, because people want to be able to play Revelations with Repentance and have, all of these alternate paths snaking around the Isaac world. Here's how mods are going to kind of work for Repentance. They are going to have to be recoded in some way, shape, or form, but it's a guarantee that mods are still going to be supported for Repentance, and they're actually taking the time to kind of revamp how mods work in Isaac. They're speeding them up, which is basically my number one concern. There's a lot of issues with the mod API in Isaac right now, so for them to go and kind of revamp that and hopefully change a lot of the things that are wrong with it, this is going to allow us to run a lot more mods at one time. It's going to make just the stability of the game a lot better when running with mods. And that's a blessing for the future if, as they had said in the past, they want the community to kind of be the future of Isaac here. And then that will allow us, obviously, to run Revelations and Repentance together if, the ideal world works out. Revelations will, and I stand by this despite not having any proof of it whatsoever, Revelations will never be an official DLC. Because it was built in Afterbirth Plus's engine, There's really no reason for them to ever make it official. When Anti-Birth was made, they basically had to rewrite Isaac to make Anti-Birth into a mod. That's kind of the big difference. Like, Revelations was made exactly how Ed wanted Afterbirth Plus to work. You know, he wanted those fan-made expansions. It's not going to be an official DLC. It's just kind of as simple as that. So what else do we have to mention here? Besides the fact that he is still playing as the Lost and, in fact, doing a pretty good job. You're going to see shortly that we're going to switch over to Greed Mode, which did get a few changes. Some of the rooms were more balanced. Some of the, I believe the loot pools were changed a little bit in there. And with that, you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of little gameplay tweaks in the game. So now we're in Greed Mode, and you can kind of see some messing around with some Greed Mode stuff here in the background. But there are going to be a lot of gameplay tweaks. Here you see Tiny Toma, which is an orbital that is going to split into other orbitals and then eventually split into spiders. Seems kind of like a useless item to me, but that's okay. We need more useless items in the game to kind of improve the difficulty. But there's a lot of balances that are happening in the game. Orbitals are going to be moving a lot faster now, which is going to make, you know, using Sack Dagger as your main damage dealer through the entire run a lot less possible. That's going to significantly make the game harder. You're going to see other changes. I know that, you know, Kilburn, one of the lead devs for Anti-Birth, wants to work on making Epic Fetus better. He wants to work on improving, you know, a couple of other items in the game that aren't as great at the current moment. Now, some things I'm not happy about. The fact that the D100 is sitting in the shop still. Not a fan of that at all. Red Stew here is a very interesting item. So it gives you full HP, but then it also, and here's him turning on the found HUD. So you can see the extra HUD has a mini option now. Assuming that there should be still a regular option for it to be how it was in Afterbirth Plus. But you can see on the left side of the screen with this stew item, you can see that it gave a huge temporary damage upgrade. He's sitting at 17 damage, but it is slowly shrinking as he goes into each room. Which, I don't really see this as a great item, but it could be insanely beneficial early on to kind of speed through some of these floors, get as much benefit as you possibly can. Especially in Greed Mode, to have them for these long waves. It's a really interesting idea. So this poop item basically makes poop guys a little friendlier. Whenever you break some poops, it spawns some poops to fight alongside you. I don't really know how useful that necessarily is. But once again, I mean, we're in pure speculation at this moment about how items are going to work in Repentance. Here you can see Tropicamide, which is a item that was kind of leaked and revealed beforehand. It gives a tier size up, which is a interesting new stat. You don't see this stat on the left side of the screen, but I mean, there are other items in the game that give tier size ups. So I'm not really all that surprised that there's another one here. You see Mom's Bracelet here, which allows you to pick up and throw rocks, and Dreamcatcher, which I'm going to be real, I wasn't really able to figure out what this item did. It showed up a couple of times during the stream, but I couldn't quite piece it together. So if you know, please let me know. Here's Intruder again, which once again was the temporary quad shot that you would get occasionally when firing tiers. I still think that item is really good, and I'm interested to see how that's going to synergize with a lot of other things. You know, like Brimstone, do you occasionally get the quad Brimstone, things like that. So here's a new run. You can see the new Book of Belial animation that has been added to the game. Looks really good, very fresh. All of the animations in the game just look a little bit cleaner. The entire game just looks a little bit cleaner. Colors are more vibrant. It just looks really good. You see Consolation Prize again, giving a key and also a stat increase. And there's Dreamcatcher again in the shop. Once again, still really don't know what this item does, but beats the hell out of me. I mean, you may figure it out and let me know, but from what I have done research-wise, I have not seen much about this item. So another just weird change, nickels and dimes now have a new sound when picking them up. It's kind of a higher pitch ding than a regular penny, so you kind of know when you pick up nickels and dimes, and it's a new sound from Afterbirth Plus, which is why I bring it up. Not that that's really the most important change on planet Earth, but it's still a change and worth bringing up. I tried to make sure that all of the clips that I'm showing you here are new things that are being seen, just to kind of dumb down the hour and a half or so of footage that we had into stuff that is a little bit more valuable for you to see. And you can see these new enemies in here that kind of chase down Isaac, and it appeared to steal his battery charges, which is a little bit interesting. So what are some other things that are happening? They teased that planetariums will be returning. These were a super special room in Anti-Birth that offered some interesting mechanics. I'm not going to spoil too much about them, but when asked about them on the stream, basically Tyrone and Vin, who was with him, kind of played dumb about it and were like, oh, planetariums? We've never heard of planetariums, so there's a pretty good assumption that planetariums are going to be back and possibly play an even larger role in Repentance than they did in Anti-Birth. We don't know yet. They were not seen on the stream, and I assume that they probably weren't even in this build of the game, so that nobody saw them at PAX or anything like that. But still, pretty interesting. Something to keep in mind. Another change from Anti-Birth to Repentance, the alternate floors, Mines, Dross, Downpour, Ash Pit, which is the alt floor for the mines, and then going forward into what we assume will be Mausoleum, despite us not actually having any vision of what Mausoleum is going to be like in Repentance. We haven't had any reveals of it so far. There will not be 2 items in the item rooms on these floors. They felt that it was a little bit too unbalanced. And I agree to some extent. Some of the Anti-Birth runs got a little bit easy getting 2 items in those rooms, except when playing as Jacob and Isao, but once again, a little bit of a different beast there. But still interesting to know that there are a lot of changes that are going to be made from Anti-Birth to Repentance. They kind of said if you're going into Repentance expecting Anti-Birth, don't, because the game is actually completely changed, and a lot of the things that are changed are things that weren't even in Anti-Birth to begin with. So it's kind of, while there is content from Anti-Birth being added, it's kind of its own huge beast of a DLC, which I think is exciting. Anti-Birth did a lot of things right, but there were still a lot of things that were wrong in Anti-Birth and didn't work in Anti-Birth, so I'm excited to see those kinds of changes being made here. So I did include this dark footage in here, not because I wanted you to not be able to see, but because I wanted you to see this kind of lighting effect that they have in the game now. You can see, you know, the thunder or the lightning or whatever it is come in occasionally through what appears to be the top of the room, and just the effect with the Curse of Darkness looks so good. And these are the kind of effects that just aren't going to work as well on the Switch, and that's why they're going to have to make some changes to really make that work when they port the game over to the Switch. But Curse of Darkness in Downpour appears to now be my least favorite thing in human history. I mean, it is actually crazy dark. And here's the Wormwood Fight. This was a fun boss from Anti-Birth. Going to be a fun boss in Repentance as well. He's got a little bit of a spiky tail that tries to come up and hit you. And really the boss designs in Anti-Birth were incredible. So I'm hoping to see all of the bosses, if not most of them, return in Repentance, as well as obviously see a few new ones. We've gotten a couple of new images at a new boss based around Bumbo, called Bumbino, which is probably the greatest name for anybody ever. But we don't have any footage of the actual fight with Bumbino, but the fact that there are some new bosses that are not Anti-Birth specific bosses is pretty exciting. So this is a very revolutionary clip right here. You're going to see he takes Sulfur, and now the deal actually changes for Eye of the Occult. So the old days of being able to kind of steal devil deals, to, you know, taking a 2-heart deal with 1 heart, are gone. You're not going to be able to do that anymore. Instead, you're going to have to pay spirit hearts along with that 1 red heart to get those items. And you might be like, oh no, they've ruined everything. Devil deals are terrible now. This is a good change, everybody. Like, this is a legitimately good change to make. This is called balance, and Isaac in Afterbirth Plus is not balanced. The game is a little bit too easy, and there's a lot of things that are broken. Another thing that was seen earlier that you might not have noticed, demon beggars now can't be cheesed. You used to be able to. This is also a sick scene right here, just to show the Eye of the Occult synergy with Brimstone. You got kind of this laser that you're able to point where it goes, and this is also how Marked is going to look as well now, which is just sick. I think that that is a really, really cool looking effect there. But the Demon Beggar used to be able to, in Afterbirth Plus, you could play it twice with every half heart that you do, because you got a small frame of invincibility upon getting hurt. This is gone. And that's going to break a lot of things in the game. You know, you're now going to have where probably Ventricle Razor isn't going to be as strong of an item in the game, because here's Tropicamide again here. But you're not going to have the ability to cheese the Demon Beggars or cheese the blood machines. You're going to have a little bit more risk involved, and that's going to make the game harder. You're going to have to make more decisions when you want to lose HP, whether or not you feel good about losing HP in a certain moment, and that's exciting to me. I think that those are really, really good balance changes that are going to improve Repentance for the better in the end. So I think that's just about all that I have here. You can see him going down in the mines one last time. This is the final floor that you're going to see in this video. They do intend on doing more streams, and I once again want to reiterate, this is not my footage. I don't own it. I ripped it straight from Tyrone's Twitch, which I am going to leave in the description. He will tweet, and I'll leave his Twitter as well. He will tweet the next time he does a live stream like this. He said it would be closer to like the end of October when he would do the next one, just so that they could get some more content in the show. But that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll continue to update you with more Repentance news when it comes out. We also finally have a release date for Bumbo, which is very exciting. But that's going to do it. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys next time. You have a good one. Goodbye.